The warning signal. The deep silence of space was suddenly broken by an urgent distress call. The communication officer on Zifor-9, a large alien station orbiting a gas giant, stared at his screen in horror. His greenish skin turned pale as he listened to the panicked voice coming through the speakers. Emergency! Emergency! A human warship has entered the system. It's the UNS Titan. Evacuate immediately. The voice was filled with fear, almost trembling. The officer, Zurek, turned to his commander, Threx, his large black eyes wide with terror. "Commander, the signal. It's real," Zurek stammered. "A human warship is coming. It's—" Before he could finish, the entire station's alarm system blared, filling the halls with flashing red lights and a deep echoing warning sound. Every Ziforian inside the station froze for a moment. Then chaos erupted. "Humans? Here? Impossible." Commander Threx growled, but his claws tightened around the edge of his command chair. His long reptilian tail twitched nervously. He knew the stories. He had heard the rumors. Humans. The destroyers of fleets. The nightmares of the galaxy. Threx quickly turned to his officers. "Activate long-range scanners. I want a full visual of that ship now." The station's scanning system hummed as the data processed. A few seconds later, a massive holographic image appeared in the center of the command bridge. There it was, the UNS Titan. It was enormous, larger than any Ziforian battleship. Its dark metallic hull gleamed under the distant star's light, covered in scars from past battles. The ship had a massive central cannon, large enough to wipe out entire stations in one shot. Along its sides, dozens of smaller weapons pulsed with energy, ready to fire at any moment. The bridge fell into dead silence. Threx's throat felt dry. His claws tapped against his metal chair as he forced himself to speak. "How long until it reaches us?" The navigation officer gulped. "Estimated 20 minutes, Commander. They are approaching fast." A ripple of fear spread through the officers. 20 minutes. That wasn't enough time to prepare. The Ziforian fleet was out on patrol. The station was vulnerable. Threx clenched his jaw. He couldn't show weakness now. Not in front of his crew. "We must send a distress signal," he said firmly. "Call for reinforcements. Inform High Command immediately." Zarek's fingers moved quickly over the control panel, sending the message across the system. The words appeared on the screen. "Emergency broadcast. A human warship is closing in, requesting immediate reinforcements." The message was sent, but there was no response. Only silence. The crew exchanged worried glances. Would help arrive in time? One of the officers, Mirak, spoke up hesitantly. "Commander, maybe they do not come for war. Perhaps they only seek passage." Threx let out a bitter laugh. "Humans do not ask for passage. They take what they want. They are predators." He leaned forward, staring at the Titan's image. He could almost feel the presence of the humans inside, watching, waiting. Then something changed. A new transmission appeared on the station's screen. A message from the Titan. The bridge fell completely silent. Every officer stopped moving. The screen flickered, then words appeared in bold, cold human text. "We come in peace. We seek only passage." For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Zurek whispered, "They are asking for permission." Threx narrowed his eyes. This had to be a trick. Humans were warriors, conquerors. Why would they ask? Unless they wanted the Ziforians to lower their guard. The commander took a deep breath. "Do not respond. Maintain full battle readiness." Zurek hesitated. "But Commander." Threx cut him off. "I said maintain battle readiness. This is no ordinary warship. It is the Titan." A shiver ran through the bridge. The Titan, a name that haunted alien fleets across the galaxy. It was rumored to have single-handedly destroyed entire armadas. If it was here, it was for a reason. Threx turned toward his crew. His voice was calm. but there was a deadly edge to it. Prepare all weapons. If they make one wrong move, we fire. The officers nodded nervously and got to work. Defense shields powered up. Plasma cannons hummed to life. The station was ready. But the Titan didn't attack. It just waited, floating in the darkness of space as if watching them, studying them. The silence stretched on, thick with tension. Commander Threx could feel it. The storm was coming, and Xi-49 was not ready. The fear of humanity. The command bridge of Xi-49 was filled with heavy silence. Every Xiforian officer stood frozen, their eyes locked on the massive human warship hovering outside their station. The U.S. Titan had not moved since sending its message. We come in peace. We seek only passage. Commander Threx leaned forward, his sharp claws tapping against his control panel. He didn't believe it. Humans were never peaceful. They were warriors, conquerors, destroyers of entire fleets. Yet here they were, waiting. A nervous officer, Zurek, shifted uncomfortably. Commander, what if they truly mean no harm? Threx's yellow eyes narrowed. Do not be fooled, Zurek. Do you not know their history? The bridge fell silent again. Of course they all knew. Humanity's reputation was legendary. They were the only species to survive an extermination attempt by the Xilari Empire. They had fought back with such ferocity that the Xilari homeworld had been reduced to ashes. They had won wars against the Va'eri hive, whose numbers were 10 times greater than humanity's. They had destroyed entire armadas without losing a single warship. The mere sight of a human fleet was enough to make most species surrender. And now, the most feared warship in the galaxy was sitting right outside their station. Threx clenched his jaw. We must act carefully. If we show weakness, they will strike. An officer hesitated before speaking. Commander, our fleet is still out on patrol. If they attack now, we will not be the first to fall. Threx interrupted sharply. We will make our stand. The Xiforians were not cowards. Even if the Titan was powerful, they would not let it crush them without a fight. Activate all planetary defense weapons, Threx ordered. Bring the station's shields to maximum power. The bridge hummed as energy readings spiked. Giant planetary turrets swiveled into position, locking onto the Titan. Xi-49's plasma cannons charged up, glowing with intense blue light. If the humans wanted a fight, they would get one. But the Titan still didn't move. Zurek gulped. Commander, they are not reacting. Threx frowned. That was strange. The moment a species aimed weapons at a human warship, retaliation was almost instant. So why was the Titan waiting? Then something unexpected happened. A new transmission came through, this time in perfect Xiforian language. You have powered up your weapons. Is this a declaration of war? The words sent a chill through the bridge. They had underestimated humans again. They knew. Threx's tail twitched. He knew that if he responded aggressively, the Titan would not hesitate to fire first. But before he could reply, another alarm blared. Commander, Zurek gasped. A new fleet has entered the system. Threx's heart pounded. Reinforcements, had High Command finally answered. But as the sensor readings came through, a cold realization set in. It was not their reinforcements. It was a Xiforian strike fleet, and they had already locked weapons on the Titan. Threx's blood ran cold. This was a mistake, and humanity never forgave mistakes. The diplomatic deception. The command bridge of Xi-49 was filled with panic. The Xiforian strike fleet had just arrived, and they had already locked weapons on the U.S. Titan. Commander Threx gripped his chair's armrests, his claws digging into the metal. His mind raced. This was a mistake, a terrible mistake. The Titan had been waiting, watching, giving them a chance. And now, their own fleet had just turned this into a battle. Zurek, the communications officer, stammered, Commander, The fleet admiral is hailing us. Threx forced himself to take a deep breath. Put him through. The screen flickered, revealing the face of Admiral Vorlak, the leader of the Zephyrian strike fleet. His scales were darker than most, his sharp eyes filled with confidence. Commander Threx, Vorlak's voice was filled with arrogance. Stand down. High Command sent us to deal with the humans. Threx's throat tightened. Admiral, you don't understand. The humans haven't attacked. They will. Vorlak cut him off. They always do. You are too cautious. That ship is a monster, and I refuse to let it leave here alive. Threx's heart pounded. The Admiral was making a deadly mistake. We should negotiate, Threx urged. They asked for passage. This could be our chance, Toe. They are liars, Vorlak growled. They pretend to be peaceful, and when we let our guard down, they strike. We will strike first. Threx's eyes darted back to the Titan's image on the holographic display. It was still hovering silently in space, showing no aggression. But he knew what was about to happen. The humans were watching, listening, calculating. And when humans calculated, they did not make mistakes. Admiral, I beg you, Threx said, his voice lower. Do not start this fight. If we attack them, they will wipe us out. Vorlak sneered. We have the numbers. We have the advantage. Threx gritted his teeth. He didn't understand. It wasn't about numbers. It was about who was on the other side of this war. The humans didn't fight like the Zephyrians. They didn't fight with honor. They didn't fight with pride. They fought to win, and they had never lost. But Vorlak was blinded by ambition. We strike now, the Admiral declared. All ships fire at will. Threx's eyes widened in horror. The Zephyrian fleet unleashed hell. Dozens of plasma torpedoes and energy beams streaked toward the Titan, lighting up the void of space with a wave of deadly firepower. Threx could barely breathe. This was it. The moment humanity would show them what real war looked like. He turned to Zurich, his voice barely above a whisper. Send another emergency broadcast, he said. Tell High Command. His throat tightened. He knew what he had to say. Tell them we made a mistake. Then, the Zephyrian bridge fell silent as the Titan finally moved. The sudden attack. The Zephyrian fleet's weapons lit up the darkness of space as plasma torpedoes and energy beams streaked toward the U.S. Titan. The sheer firepower was enough to obliterate entire warships. The Zephyrian officers on Zephyr-9's bridge watched in tense silence, waiting for the Titan to be torn apart. But then, something terrifying happened. The Titan did not move. It did not evade. It did not fire back. It just waited. The Zephyrian projectiles slammed into the Titan's hull with pinpoint accuracy, but instead of explosions, the human warship's energy shields flared in a bright blue glow. The Titan absorbed every single attack. Not a scratch. Not even a dent. On the bridge of Zephyr-9, Commander Threx watched in horror as his fleet's best weapons failed to do anything. Zurich, his communications officer, gasped, his voice trembling. Commander, our weapons did nothing. Admiral Vorlak, still visible on the holographic screen, froze. The smug confidence vanished from his face. This isn't possible, Vorlak whispered. But it was. And now it was humanity's turn. A deep rumbling noise echoed across the system as the Titan's engines ignited, its hull shifting slightly. Then, the Titan fired. One shot. Just one. A single pulse of crimson energy blasted from the Titan's main cannon, traveling so fast that the Zephyrian fleet had no time to react. The energy wave ripped through space, engulfing the first row of Zephyrian warships in an instant. They didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist. Admiral Vorlak's flagship was one of them. One moment it was there. The next, it was gone, along with half the Zephyrian fleet. The remaining Zephyrian ships began to panic. Emergency maneuvers, one of their captains screamed. Retreat. Retreat. But the Titan was not finished. Without hesitation, it unleashed another barrage. But this time, it didn't use its main cannon. Instead, dozens of smaller turrets lit up, firing precise, calculated shots at the retreating ships. Each shot hit perfectly. Each Xiphorian warship erupted into fire, their shields useless against human precision weaponry. The entire fleet was annihilated in under a minute. Back on Zephyr-9, the bridge was silent. Commander Threx felt his claws trembling. His chest was tight, his breathing shallow. He had known humans were powerful. But this was beyond anything he had imagined. In mere seconds, the Titan had wiped out a fleet of their best warships, with almost no effort. Threx turned to Zurich, his voice hoarse. "Send a surrender signal," he whispered. Zurich hesitated, his fingers shaking over the controls. "Commander, do you think they will accept?" Threx stared at the Titan's glowing silhouette, hovering silently in the wreckage of what was once a mighty fleet. "I don't know," Threx admitted. "But if they don't, we're already dead." He took a deep breath and gave the order. "Transmit the signal." The message was sent. "We surrender. Please, spare us." The Titan remained motionless. For a long, agonizing moment, there was no response. Then, the Titan finally answered. One simple message appeared on the screen. "Surrender accepted. Stand down." Threx exhaled a shaky breath. His crew collapsed in relief. They were alive. But deep inside, Threx knew one thing for certain. The Xiphorian Empire would never challenge humanity again. Humanity's wrath. The bridge of Zephyr-9 was silent. No one dared to speak. The Xiphorian fleet was gone, destroyed in less than a minute. Commander Threx felt a weight on his chest, pressing down like a crushing force. His sharp claws trembled against the armrests of his chair. He had seen battles before. He had seen ships explode, men die. But never like this. Not with such precision. Not with such efficiency. Not with so little effort. The Titan hovered outside their station, surrounded by the burning wreckage of what was once a powerful Zephyrian strike fleet. The surrender message had been sent. The Titan had accepted. But it hadn't left. "Commander," Zurek whispered, his voice weak. "Why? Why are they still here?" Threx had no answer. His eyes stayed locked on the massive warship, unmoving, like a beast watching its prey. Then, another transmission flashed across the station's monitors. This time, it was not text. It was a video. The image appeared on the main screen, and for the first time, they saw them. The humans. A figure sat in a command chair, clad in a black uniform, with sharp eyes and a calm expression. His face was unreadable. His presence felt like a storm waiting to strike. He was their leader. When he spoke, his voice was calm, controlled. "I am Captain Ilias Mercer of the U.S. Titan." The Xiphorian officers tensed. They knew that name. Mercer, the butcher of Silari, the slayer of the Va'ari hive, the man who had never lost a battle. He continued, his tone cold but firm. "You violated the ceasefire. You attacked without provocation. Your fleet has been destroyed." Threx swallowed hard. The words were not a threat. They were just facts. Cold. Inevitable. "We accepted your surrender," Mercer continued. "But understand this." The human captain leaned forward, his piercing gaze locking onto the Xiphorian officers through the screen. "We do not forgive easily." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. "You are alive only because we allow it," Mercer said. "This war could have ended today, with your station burning in the void." Threx believed him. There was no arrogance in Mercer's voice, only certainty. The Titan could have wiped them out, but it hadn't. Mercer's voice remained steady. "This is your only warning. The next time your people cross us." His eyes darkened. "There will be no surrender." The screen went dark. For a long moment, No one moved. Then, without a sound, the UNS Titan turned away from HFY. The massive engines flared, and the warship disappeared into the void. They were gone. Threx's claws relaxed, and he let out a long, unsteady breath. Around him, his officers slowly collapsed into their chairs, some shaking, some staring blankly at the screen. They had survived. But they had learned a lesson. Humanity was not to be challenged. Not today. Not ever. The final stand. The UNS Titan had vanished into the dark abyss of space, leaving behind nothing but the shattered remains of a once mighty HFY fleet. On the command bridge of HFY, Commander Threx sat frozen in his chair. His mind still echoed with Captain Ilias Mercer's final words. "The next time your people cross us, there will be no surrender." A cold truth settled over the room like a suffocating fog. The HFY Empire had lost more than ships today. It had lost its pride, its fearlessness, its illusion of power, and most of all, it had lost its place as a dominant force in the galaxy. No one spoke for a long time. The crew of HFY simply stared at the holographic battlefield, where burning wreckage floated like silent tombstones. Finally, Zurich, the communications officer, found his voice. "Commander, what do we tell High Command?" Threx slowly exhaled, his claws tapping against his chair. What could he say? That they had underestimated the humans. That an entire fleet had been erased in under a minute. That humanity had given them mercy, but only once. He clenched his fists. The truth was brutal. If the humans had chosen war today, HFY would no longer exist. He turned to Zurich. His voice, once commanding and strong, was now quiet. "Tell them." He paused, his words catching in his throat. Then he spoke the truth. "Tell them we were fools." Zurich's eyes widened, but he nodded, his fingers moving swiftly over the controls. A moment later, the message was sent. Across the HFY Empire, the truth would spread. The UNS Titan, the unstoppable force, the warship that did not need to fight to win. And most terrifying of all, the humans had shown mercy today. But next time, there would be none. The lesson of power. The message had been sent. The HFY High Command would soon learn the truth, not just about the battle, but about humanity. On the bridge of HFY, Commander Threx remained seated, staring at the empty void where the UNS Titan had disappeared. His officers were silent, still shaken from what they had witnessed. Zurich, the communications officer, finally spoke. His voice was hushed, uncertain. "Commander, do you think they will come back?" Threx's yellow eyes didn't leave the holographic display. His mind replayed the events, the ease with which the humans had destroyed their fleet, the chilling precision of their attack, the simple, terrifying warning left behind. He exhaled slowly. "They don't need to come back," he said. His voice was flat, emotionless. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "They destroy our fleet," Threx continued, his tone hollow. "They could have destroyed us too, but they didn't." He looked around at his officers. Fear was in their eyes. HFYans were warriors, trained for battle, yet today, they had learned what true war looked like. Threx leaned forward, his claws resting on the control panel. "We are alive not because of our strength, not because of our defenses." He turned to Zurich, his voice low and certain. "We are alive because they allowed it." Zurich swallowed. "Then, what do we do now?" Threx sat back in his chair, exhaustion settling over him. "We wait," he said, "and we remember." He motioned toward the burning wreckage floating outside their station, the remains of Admiral Vorlak's fleet. "This," Threx said, "is what happens when we challenge humanity." A heavy silence followed. Then, Zurich spoke the words they were all thinking. "We will never challenge them again." Threx closed his eyes. No, they wouldn't. Not now. Not ever. Across the HFY Empire, fear would spread. The name Titan would become legend. The warning left by Captain Mercer would be whispered in hushed voices across battle stations, war councils, and planetary governments. The lesson was clear. Humanity was not to be challenged, and those who did would not live to regret it.